News as it happens from the University of Calgary. U of C. This is Now.
This is a collection of the translations into a large number of languages, 67 in all, of the first of the Harry Potter books, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It contains some unexpected languages, some very small languages. This, for example, is the ancient Greek translation, which apparently is the longest work written in ancient Greek since the ancient Greeks. There is, of course, also a Latin translation. These were done by British scholars, primarily to encourage their students in schools to read the classical languages. I'd obviously heard of Harry Potter, but my first direct encounter was the year that my wife and I were on sabbatical in Prague. And our daughter, who came to Prague for Christmas, brought us what was then the first 4 volumes, that was all that had been published, in English, thinking that isolated in Prague we might appreciate reading some English. And I read the books and have to say I enjoyed them. And since we were in Europe and doing a certain amount of traveling, if we went to a place, a country, the language of which I knew, I simply picked up a copy. And so by the end of that half year or so, I had probably 3 or 4. And then on our way home, we stopped over to visit our son and daughter-in-law in Glasgow, and I was in one of the Glasgow bookshops, and there was a sign saying Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in Arabic. And I thought, that's kind of cool. So I picked it up. It wasn't until 2 years later I discovered that they'd actually made a mistake, and it wasn't in Arabic at all, it was in Urdu, which then meant I had to scramble to get an Arabic copy. But that was kind of the beginning of the slippery slope. I have a strong suspicion that in some areas actually maybe there are more translations of this than there are actually of the Bible, which means from the point of view of doing comparative language studies, particularly in language families, it becomes very interesting, very useful. One of the things that I look at, for example, is names, how names are translated or not translated. Some languages do, some languages don't translate names. And this has always been a challenge for the translators of this series. Things like the invented game, Quidditch, and its terminology, how do you deal with that, and so on.
When I learned that my colleague Nick Zekulin was collecting those Harry Potter books, I thought about right away of the collection as a way to feature an aspect of language research and language that we have not paid a lot of attention to here in the Language Research Center, which is the connection between language, culture, and identity. The Harry Potter collection, to me, is so interesting because it allows you to see how intricately connected language, culture, and identity are when one looks at the different ways Harry Potter has been translated and adapted into these different cultures. The exhibition will be on display starting February 23rd. During that day, where we'll hold a number of talks and the opening exhibition, it'll be held in Craigie Hall, Block D, 4th floor, room 420. And after February 23rd, starting February 24th, the volumes can be seen every day for 2 weeks during regular office hours in the lobby of the Language Research Center, which again is in D Block on the 4th floor.